Let's get this party started!
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amidst chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome...
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
Hello and welcome to the show. It is Thursday, November 6th, 2025. A pleasure to know that you are joining us today as the election results from Tuesday night the dust has settled a bit, and the questions now are, what will this mean for New York City, for the country? Will it mean what these Democrat socialists hope it means? We are going to dig into that today on the show, as well as other illegal immigrants are attempting to take over local governments. No joke, illegal immigrants are getting elected. They're not even legally eligible to vote. How can they be holding public office? But they are, and we're going to show you that coming up. Plus, some more details surrounding the Charlie Kirk assassination. James Comey's daughter is caught in a scandal. And is the IRS done? Will they instead be part of the mass deportation effort? I mean, seems like a better use of their manpower. And President Trump has lowered weight loss drug prices, which that just came down. And John Brennan is headed for indictment. We were talking about this the other day. Nancy Pelosi has announced that she's not going to run for re-election. Okay, great. Good for you. Get out. This is one of those things where I'm torn, because it's like, okay, well, thank you for your service. When Dick Cheney died the other day, it was like, I'm sure you did some good things, but most of my memory is things that I think were bad for our country. But when someone dies, you don't react with disrespect. I mean, that seems like something the left would do, right? But for Nancy Pelosi, thank you for your service. Not really. I don't know, what you've done for the good of the country. So instead, I would say, get out. And so that has happened. I just got a notification. The New York Times is reporting that guy who hit an ICE agent with that Subway sandwich, assault by sub, has been found not guilty of assault by a Washington jury. Can you believe that? In Washington? Yeah. Okay. If they were holding that case in a reasonable jurisdiction, I think the guy would have been, found guilty of assault. These are the days we live in, my friends. And it is crazy how the lawfare is allowed to continue just as long as you get a favorable jurisdiction. Right? Let me see here. We also have the shutdown continuing, day 37, I believe it is. And I'll tell you what's happening is we are getting closer and closer and closer to some kind of air travel disaster. They're going to be scaling down the air traffic by 10%. I mean, 37 days, and these air traffic controllers, they're not getting paid. Most people in this country live paycheck to paycheck, including government workers. And you go for an entire month without a check and then some. I mean, there's people getting evicted even. There was some talk of Democrats coming together with Republicans to say, let's get the government back open. And then allegedly Chuck Schumer found out about it and said, no, we're not doing that. So the Democrats are tempting an air traffic disaster. And let me tell you, if something like that happens, it's going to be bad for Republicans and Democrats, for sure. And my concern is, as we are past these elections the other day, and then we get, now our sights set on the midterms. How is that not going to be a disaster for midterms? It would not be good. That is something that would be brought up over and over. And obviously, you don't want people to die. And so it is very dangerous territory that we're in right now. Very dangerous territory. And again, Republicans have said, we will work with you on some kind of compromise, but vote right now to get the government open. We've talked about the filibuster as well before. I keep coming back to that. I mean, you got all these people, we don't want to open the door for that precedent. You don't have to open that door. Democrats will open that door if they have numbers. They would have already done it were it not for not having the numbers. That is just a fact. Stop worrying about precedent. The Republicans are trying to play, I don't know, some nice, polite game. What would be a nice, polite game that you would play with somebody? Croquet? Maybe something civilized. The Republicans are trying to play croquet while the Democrats are literally playing Hunger Games. I mean, that's where we're at. The Republicans don't want to upset the apple cart, don't want to set precedent. Meanwhile, the Democrats are over here out for blood, and they will kill you to save themselves. We know that. They will fight much, much more ruthlessly when it comes to the political warfare and what they'll do. So, and I mean, President Trump knows this better than anybody as somebody who's targeted. But yet we have John Thune and these others. No, we don't want to do this. We don't want to set the precedent. It's like the Democrats will do it. You will not open the door for Democrats to do it. You will have nothing to do with whether or not they do it. And you could always go back and set the rules. You could set these rules without the filibuster to expire. You could reinstate the rules in the next session. But it's so obvious. And I just think you've got to have people that are thinking outside the box. President Trump you have a very limited window now before midterms. You have to do this because we have seen Democrats engage in impeding and obstructing basic agenda items where the precedent set was you're not going to block every single appointee, but that's what they've done. Wait a minute, I thought the precedent was, unless there's something really glaring, you'll go ahead and push them through. That's not what they've done. Democrats have broken precedent again and again and again, and we have Republicans worried about breaking precedent. That's ridiculous. I mean, otherwise, if we keep doing what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always got. That's where we're headed for the next 10, 11 months until midterms. You have no choice. I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't that way. There are a lot of things I wish weren't that way, but are we going to play in reality or pretend land? The days of polite political debate and engagement, those are over. You must play to win, because if you don't, they are coming for you. So, if you don't want to have anything to look back on as you're going into the midterms as far as accomplishments, Republicans, then congratulations, you're headed straight toward that exact result. Remove the impediment in your own mind that we can't do it because Democrats will do it to us. They are going to anyway if they have the chance. Just that is fact. Remove it. Vice President J.D. Vance keyed in on this very well in his speech at the Turning Point USA event last week where he said, worrying about Democrats doing it is not a reason to not do something that needs to be done. That we need to remove that as the reasoning behind an action. Not a good reason. They will do it if they have the opportunity. It's like you're watching a movie where the good guy and the bad guy are fighting, and the good guy has the bad guy in submission. He could literally take him out, and he decides, no, I'm going to let him live. And then the bad guy comes back when the good guy's got his back turned and gets, stabbed in the back. That's what we're dealing with here. Do you want to be able to, have this polite filibuster preservation on your resume? Or would you rather have winner on your resume? I just think it's ridiculous. We're past the days of politeness. And I don't know what is wrong with these people that are in the Senate that think, they're delusional if they think that we still have that reality before us. We don't. It's gone. It's over. All right. I digress. Moments ago, President Trump announcing Medicare copays for weight loss drugs are now going to plummet from $1,350 to just $50. That's quite the drop.
Just as significantly, Medicare and Medicaid will finally cover the cost of these weight loss drugs for millions of patients suffering from obesity. Copays for Medicare patients will be as low as $50. This is tremendous savings. I mean, now you're talking about from $1,350 to $50. This is tremendous news for the American seniors. And you all remember when I had 1/8 of 1% for the year. I cut it 1/8, and I was so thrilled. But now we're cutting it 1,000%, 1,200%. Nobody's ever seen anything like this.
I'm expecting a lot less fat people, okay? We've covered it. We've done what we can. Put down the fudge rounds. They're going to be so thin. Let me tell you, they're going to be more. They're going to be so thin, you're not going to believe it, okay? They're going to be the thinnest Americans we've ever seen. Their skin's going to be hanging off. It's going to be so saggy. That skin is going to be so saggy, but they're going to be so thin. They're going to be so beautiful.
Right? I mean, he missed that part. So there you go. All right. So that's a big deal. That just happened. By the way, we go back to the filibuster for a second. What the Republicans are saying is, they're going to stack the court, the Supreme Court. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. They will try to do it, whether you do something or not. What you could do is maybe you could, get the works, get it in the works to secure the Supreme Court at 9 judges only forever. You could do that. I don't think it takes I think it, you would have to, I believe, change the Constitution, maybe. But stop playing defense. Go on offense. This is what Congress needs to do. They need to adopt the same playbook that President Trump has, which is flood the zone. Make them play defense. Instead, they play offense and we're playing defense. It's not a winning strategy. But do the things that you can do to insulate right now against the things you're worried that Democrats are going to do. This is a playing not to lose mentality versus playing to win. Republicans need to play to win, not play not to lose. See the difference? All right, help us out in the algorithm right now. Give us a thumbs up and a repost. Thank you to David Sling and Bree for already reposting over on Rumble. If you're watching on X, heart the post and repost right now. You just hit that, arrow thingy and repost it. And then like and share on whatever other platform you might be watching on today. That helps us in the algorithm getting the show out there. If you're watching the replay, let us know in the comments later today when you happen to watch it or something like that. After the show today, I'll be doing a taping for the Wendy Bell Common Sense show, which airs on Newsmax on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. Also airs on Sunday, unless they preempt it for something. And that's going to be 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central Time, Sunday afternoon. Wendy Bell Common Sense. So just a little FYI on things coming up. All right, let's talk about this deal in New York City. You got Mamdani, who won, which is not a surprise. By the way, I mean, there were no surprises on Tuesday night. These were blue states. If Democrats didn't win, then it would be a big deal. Now, it is a little surprising that the New Jersey governor's race was so lopsided. There are some allegations that some weird things happened there. Remember, we know that there were ballot issues and bomb threats and things like that that were called in. Now, it could be completely legit. I mean, is any election completely legit? I doubt it. But that's the only surprise. Jay Jones, the death-threatening Democrat, won AG, and he definitely didn't get as many votes as Spanberger did, who won as governor of Virginia. But still he won, which shows you Democrats don't give a crap about content of character. They don't. It's worse than we thought. It's worse than we thought when Democrats will elect someone who threatens to kill a person and their children and says that, basically Mussolini and Stalin, I don't know if Hitler was in there, that Jay Jones would rather kill this Speaker of the House of Virginia before he would, take out Stalin or Mussolini or some other horrible person, right? Democrats voted for this guy. This shows you there are no principles on the left. Now, some people left it blank. Clearly, they voted for governor, left that blank. Not enough. Not enough. Maybe the ones that left it blank were, have a little bit of a conscience, but not enough to actually ensure the guy doesn't get in. Just, I'm not gonna participate. If other people want to vote him in, yeah, that's called guilt by association. That's called being complicit by doing nothing. That doesn't make you a good person. If you're a part of letting Jay Jones be elected, I mean, what message does this send? What message does it send to our children? What message does it send to the country? We just had one of the most gifted communicators who is engaged in evangelism and political speaking, Charlie Kirk, assassinated in front of the world. And 2 months later, you elect a guy who wanted to do that and worse and put it in writing. You're sick. Democrats in Virginia who voted for Jay Jones, you are sick. There is something wrong with you. It doesn't matter how many people you vote for that are diverse, because this is the justification that Democrats have in their really shallow brains, especially when it comes to white women. They have this toxic empathy. I want to feel better about myself. I'm not a racist. I feel bad about slavery. I feel bad about oppression, so I'm going to vote for this guy. You're still just as sick and evil. You're no less racist. You're no less a bigot. You're no less a deplorable person because you voted for a guy who is black or half black or whatever. When the content of his character is it's just asinine. And so, shame on you, Virginia Democrats. You are disgusting. You're disgusting. There is no justification for it whatsoever. After everything that's happened in the last 2 months, you're going to elect a guy that wants to do the same and worse to children. That is absurd. So I don't care how many people of color or gay people you vote for or whatever, that does not make you a decent human being, because you're willing to vote for the freaking violent murderer. Now, has he killed anybody? Not that we know of, but it's the principle of someone being that enraged and thinking that this is okay, and then doubling down on it, and then saying these kind of things about his kids, young children. This guy is sick in the head, and Democrats elected him. It's worse than we thought. And probably a lot of these Virginia Democrats were the ones who were posting celebration videos when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. It's a sick, demonic mentality. I had hoped it wasn't as bad as it is. As I told you before the election, I said, Spanberger's probably going to win. The only races I see that are potentially up for grabs for Republicans would be the New Jersey governor race. That was way more lopsided than anybody expected. But then it was this AG race in Virginia with Jay Jones. I thought, surely, after everything we know about this guy, some Democrats in Virginia still have a soul and value humanity. Surely, and don't call me Shirley. Surely there's some. There aren't apparently enough. And that is the sad state of affairs. But in New York, we expected Mamdani to get elected. This is kind of the deal. It was Democrat on Democrat crime is what it was, because it was really him against Cuomo. Sliwa was just a waste of air and space in this race. But what you're seeing is, people say it's a victory for Democrats. No, it's actually not. Democrats got defeated in Cuomo. This was not a Democrat win. This was a communist win. Oh, and they might call themselves the, Democrat Socialists of America or whatever it is. No, it's communism. It's Marxism. Those are the degrees. Starts as socialism, then it's communist, then it's straight up Marxism. It's all part of the same thing. It's just how many layers are they going to enact before it's full-blown Marxism? But this was not a win for Democrats. This wasn't a Democrat win. It was a communist win. And anybody telling you otherwise is uninformed. So New York typically elects Democrats. Here's the interesting thing is when you flood a city with immigrants who don't assimilate to the American way, and when you have really stupid voters, Democrat policies aren't enough, and they're going to want more. Because you convince them that everything's free, which is totally incorrect. But think about this. Democrat policies are crazy enough, anti-American enough, as is. That wasn't crazy enough for this vast voting bloc in New York City. A lot of women, young people, foreign-born people are the ones who got Mamdani elected. Democrat policies were not far enough. Now, you could argue that part of that played into Cuomo's really negative brand with all the terrible things he did during COVID, and I understand that. And it's not like Mamdani was elected with a mandate. He didn't take 60% or something like that. But he convinced enough ignorant people that the Democrat policies weren't enough. They went even further. And I'm just telling you, that this is where the entire Democrat Party is headed. This is where the younger members of Congress are ideologically, and the older members of Congress are leaving because, they were trying to keep it closer to at least a moderate stance in some senses, but it's been hijacked for years by the radical left wing. And the whole party might as well be radically left because those are the policies that they're pushing. But make no mistake, it's not going to stop with trans rights and men and women's bathrooms and flooding the country with illegal immigrants. It doesn't stop there. That's just the beginning of the radical ideology. The point being is it is a slippery slope into the abyss of a destroyed country, the more power that Democrats have. And we've seen these aren't outliers on the far left anymore. These people have infiltrated the party, they're controlling the party, and now they're infiltrating cities like New York City. There is no middle ground, no moderate, no centrist Democrat Party, not even close. And you look at what Mamdani quoted. He quoted Jawaharlal Nehru, the socialist who crushed Hindus and empowered jihadis. He didn't quote Washington, Jefferson, or Lincoln. He quoted a Marxist founding father of socialist India who turned India into a social prison, strangled free enterprise with the licensed Raj, appeased jihadis, gave Muslim Kashmir special status while Hindus were massacred, left law untouched but rewrote Hindu law to weaken traditional families. The Nehru model of decline is being imported to America, socialism cloaked in secularism. This is it. Socialism cloaked in secularism. Well, Christian values, that's so, exclusive. That's not diverse. That's not inclusive enough. And so they say secularism. Well, no, not everybody's a Christian. Not everybody believes in God. That's true, but you don't remove it from the core tenets of society. And that's what they've done in the name of secularism. But it's really socialism. It's really Marxism.
Standing before you, I think of the words of Jawaharlal Nehru. A moment comes but rarely in history when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends and when the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance. Tonight we have stepped out from the old into the new. So let us speak now with clarity and conviction that cannot be misunderstood about what this new age will deliver and for whom. This will be an age where New Yorkers expect from their leaders a bold vision of what we will achieve, rather than a list of excuses for what we are too timid to attempt.
Yeah. Talk about riling people up, radicalizing. Again, he didn't quote any great Americans. He quoted this Nehru, a socialist who crushed Hindus and empowered jihadis in India. This is your mayor. Meanwhile, AOC embraced this Hassan Piker, who says the quiet part out loud. He says it was a tragedy that the USA defeated the Soviet Union in the Cold War. And AOC is all over this dude. A tragedy that communism was defeated in the USSR.
What do you think it means that this guy ran as a socialist and anti-communism didn't work to stop him? That's big.
Yeah, I think we are in the heart of the imperial core. This is the country that defeated the USSR, unfortunately. And the reality of the matter is, there's a lot of antagonism. There's no class consciousness in the United States of America. It's one of the things I try to address every day with my commentary. And I will say this, the conditions have deteriorated so much that everyday Americans, in spite of their lack of class consciousness, are finally arriving at the conclusion that perhaps there is an alternative out there. There is an alternative that focuses on them as opposed to the interests of the billionaires and the millionaires, as opposed to the interests of the capital owners. And I mean, you can't help but notice that. You can't help but feel at least a little bit of excitement around that.
And also the significance.
Okay, yeah, it's just unfortunately it's unfortunate the U.S. defeated the Soviet Union and was embraced. He was embraced by AOC, and this is what I think is. This is what we've been saying, but a lot of these Democrats like AOC and Ilhan Omar and Bernie Sanders and Ray Jab, whatever her name is. We're going to hear their language get much more direct. This was sort of a test case to see if it was palpable, and they're going to bring out more and more divisive rhetoric and openly embrace socialist policies, because this is what they're talking about and thinking about. This is the things they are feeling and discussing with their friends. And at some point, it will spill over into just common vernacular of these people, more so than it already has. What I think would be interesting is they're going to get greedy and push it too far, and they're going to expose themselves. And one thing is for sure, that Mamdani and socialism will not work. It won't work. We have history that can confirm those things. Steve Bannon talked about how we got to this point the other night. Take a listen to his comments on that.
A star is born in New York City. The progressive left got tonight delivered what they've been working on for decades and decades and decades. And folks, you better understand right there. Did he mention in all those, is Dave Brett there? Let's get Dave Brett. Did he mention in all those call outs he did one white name? I must have missed that. In all the people he called, I don't remember. He didn't call for Jefferson or Washington or anything from American history. You have 40 or 50 years of visa scams. You have illegal immigrants coming in, illegal alien invaders coming in 10 or 15 million. This is what you're going to end up with. So, folks, if you don't think that's a reality check, you're not paying attention. Dave Brett, your thoughts?
All right. You get 15 million invaders. This is what happens. This is what happens. Not only that's where the candidate comes from, but then you have people to vote for him. I mean, this is ridiculous. And then you guilt all the people that somehow have white guilt and everything else, and they vote for him. And then you have young, dumb people as well that are ignorant, that are basically voting out of resentment. You have what I want, and I don't want to work for it, so therefore, gimme, gimme, gimme. It is entitlement. It's resentment. It's envy. It's evil. And it works pretty well on young people because, hey, my life sucks, so, it's your fault. And so it's time to, equalize things. But when you let all these people invade our country, it is only a matter of time. And we go to the voting block numbers. Young women, 81% for Mamdani in New York City, 80% for Cheryl in New Jersey, 78% for Spanberger in Virginia per the NBC exit polls, which basically means women have been deceived into voting for this radical agenda. 81% of women who voted in New York City voted for Mamdani. They elected Cheryl in New Jersey, Spanberger in Virginia. Young women are going to ruin this country because they're not voting logically whatsoever. What's funny is the day after the election yesterday, Mamdani, after he won, started asking for money again. I guess he stopped asking for money for a little bit, and then now he's back to asking for money.
Good morning, New York City. Thank you. Last night we made history, and today we begin the work of making a new administration. Welcome to the transition. This is the period over the next few months where we build a city hall that delivers on the promises of our campaign, to make New York City affordable and to make government accountable to the people it serves. As we prepare to govern, we'll start announcing the leaders who will help implement our agenda. People like deputy mayors who oversee entire areas of government, and the commissioners who carry out the critical work of city agencies. These appointments will be driven by excellence, integrity, and hunger to solve old problems with new solutions. Talking to organizers on the front lines of the fight to improve our city, government veterans with proven track records, policy experts from around the country and the world, and working people who know better than anyone what our neighborhoods deserve. And this will be a period, like the campaign we ran in the city hall to come, defined by transparency, because New Yorkers deserve a government they can trust. On January 1st, I will be your mayor. New Year's Day and a new era for this city. Oh, and one more thing. Remember how I told you a few months ago to stop sending us money? You can start again. This transition requires staff, research, and an infrastructure that can meet this moment. And it will be made possible by the people who built and believe in this movement. So I hope you'll make a donation at transition2025.com. Now let's get to work.
Okay. Yeah, I need your money again. For a transition? Really? Okay. For research, and staff, and, we got to figure out what the heck we're doing. We need your money. I mean, he's already backed off of his free groceries. Well, no, affordable groceries. Okay. The buses, remember, those are going to be free. We'll see if he actually comes through. I mean, there's no way any of this can truly work. We're talking about math, friends. We're not talking about emotions. I mean, this is a guy who wouldn't even give his supporters, his volunteers, the people who helped him win, he even made them pay for their own drinks. It was a cash bar at the victory party. Jimmy Fahala says, if you can't get a free vodka from this guy, something tells me the free food and buses ain't coming. Congrats, suckers. So, I mean, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, all this free stuff, somebody has to pay for it. And case in point, they're not even giving out free drinks at the the party, the celebration party. You still have to pay. Unbelievable. All right. Looks like the Supreme Court has just ruled that passports can require your biological sex. Okay. As if that should be up for debate, but apparently that's been ruled on. So there you have it. So when we talk about Mamdani, let's see here. I'm gonna ask something here. People are worried. People are concerned. Understandably, in New York City, I mean, I want to know what the businesses do, the corporations do, because a lot of them have already left New York. And so, what are they going to do with the increase in taxes? And we're already hearing reports of people, removing their kids from schools. So there's going to be, an effect. But here's the other thing is depending on how soon Mamdani really rolls out these communist changes, these policies, once he does, we will have a very vivid case study in why communism doesn't work. And I got to be honest with you, the fact that Republicans didn't have some stellar night the other night is actually a really good thing. Because now there is no resting on your laurels. There shouldn't be. If Republicans had a surprisingly good night and, took a bunch of stuff they weren't supposed to take, what do you think would have happened by the time the midterms rolled around? Oh, man, we're good. And President Trump knows it. President Trump said it, Republicans got to do a better job of communicating what we're doing to help. But had there been some kind of red wave the other night in places there shouldn't be, there would be mass complacency, I'm telling you, when it comes to the midterms and what needs to be done between now and then, and the fact that they better assume nothing when it comes to victory status, and they better work like a dog, like an underdog. That's exactly how they should work from now until then. So I don't think it's some horrible thing for Republicans. I think it's basically that really good basketball team that's headed into the, NCAA tournament. They've won tons of games, and then some team beats them in their conference tournament or right at the very end of the regular season, and it sobers them to, oh, wow, we're not unbeatable. We have to still work at it. And then they get into the NCAA tournament and they win everything. And you're like, how did that happen? I mean, they just got beat by this lesser team. It's because it was the awakening that they needed to realize this ain't in the bag, friends. We've got to work hard. And so I hope that's what is happening to Republicans today. I think it's actually much better for Republicans that they lost those areas that they were really supposed to lose anyway. Because hopefully it gives them sort of a deeper, stronger resolve to win in the midterms. All right, let's see here. Does Mamdani live in government subsidized housing? Let's see. He's not living in government housing. He resides in a private rent-stabilized one-bedroom apartment. So he's in a rent-stabilized unit in Queens where basically, the government has said, okay, yeah, you can't charge any more rent. He pays $2,300 a month. It's regulated by the city government. Mamdani has lived there since his time as a foreclosure counselor, earning $47K annually. Somebody's throwing some money at him because there's no way that this dude is spending 60% of his gross pay on rent alone. So the accusation here then, is as an assemblyman, he was making $142,000. So he's been criticized by Cuomo because he is stealing affordable housing from poor people, and that he's making $142K and his family's rich. They're filmmakers, etc. And this could be going to someone else who can't afford it. Okay? So he's using the system for sure. All right, let's get some more of your comments on here. Let's see. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Bring this down here. Okay. Bree says there's so many uneducated women. Yeah, they're the ones who voted for Mamdani. Gaetano on LinkedIn says, all I saw was young white girls on X with their I voted for Zoran stickers. Get ready, ladies. You're going to love it when Sharia law is instituted and you can't even show anything but your eyeballs. And, you can't go anywhere without a man, and on and on and on. You have zero rights. Gaetano says, masks off now. There are no more moderates. David Sling says, Mamdani will drop the rest of the Democrats in 3, 2, 1. David Sling also saying New York has become London. Bree says, Trump and the Republicans also need to quit saying that costs are down, because for the most part, Americans' costs are still way up, way too high. Yeah, I saw Trump on the Brett Baer show with sort of a short interview last night saying, everything had come down. And I agree the messaging needs to be tweaked. Gas prices have come down. Inflation is at a reasonable level. Energy prices, he's saying they've come down. I don't see that personally. But gas prices do affect energy prices eventually. Egg prices are definitely down, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't. And it got, inflated like crazy during COVID. That a lot of that kind of stuff, for it to be able to come down, it's just going to take so long unless you strike some kind of deal or something. Now, I will say everything that President Trump has done so far, he's obviously sort of stopped the leaks from an economy standpoint. He's gone around and shored up a bunch of economic deals for, research, development, manufacturing here in the U.S., all of it, leading to jobs and that kind of thing. The stock market is up, yes, but a lot of the things that he has put in place are great. They just take longer. Now, if the housing market, if the mortgage rates, if the Fed rate was dropped, that would allow for an influx of activity. So as I see it, two big things right now that affect our prices is the mortgage market and the housing market. Okay, mortgage rate, housing market, because if that starts moving, a bunch of people start feeling, okay, things are moving in the right direction and money is flowing. And that's average everyday people. The other thing, though, is the uncertainty of the tariffs with China that is still out there looming. They are working on it, but that is causing, I think, the manufacturing sector and these various companies with products to be very hesitant. You don't want to drop your prices, even if you can, until you're 100% sure of where things are going to go and what kind of investment it might take to go there, whatever that means, whether you have to, manufacture here in the U.S. or whatever it's going to be. So the Fed rate and the uncertainty with Chinese tariffs, I think, are two major factors that affect a lot of stuff. And once those are resolved, I think things really start to feel differently. But I agree with you, Bree. They've got to get specific on what has come down, and they've got to tout percentages. But I don't know that prices are ever going to come down because of COVID, things have gotten so inflated and things have, went so crazy. It's not like people are making extra profit per se. It's just there has to be time to absorb the out of control inflation that was happening. Even though it's down now, I think we're still feeling it. But if you could stimulate the economy in a certain way, then people are making more money, and then we levelize, we equalize it. It levels out, and we're okay. This is normal. We're making more money now. This is what it costs, that kind of thing. And so the deals that President Trump has put in place are precisely what is going to accomplish those things. With the energy prices, the various deals and things like that, he's got to get it worked out with China, and obviously they're moving in that direction. There's not a whole lot he can do about the Fed rate, which is why he's pressuring too late Powell so heavily. But all of these things work together. We have so many factors, I believe, in place ready to explode, and or just they have to allow them time to come to fruition, that we're going to see an incredible economy. But I agree with you right now. We're not feeling that right now day to day. Bree says, another thing that scares me is people show up to vote when Trump's on the ballot, but not when he isn't. The Republicans could be in big trouble, for sure. You always get more people during a presidential year as well, but Trump certainly helps that. All right, what else we've got a very few chatters, but they're just but they are expressing themselves well. David Sling says Trump didn't even win those states in the last election. Correct. A lot of people moved toward him in New Jersey and New York, but he didn't win them, and there should be no expectation right now that Republicans would win them. But I told you this on Tuesday afternoon that when Democrats win most of these elections, most of these races, the spin the next day is going to be, oh, Trump was defeated and the Democrats, the shutdown is Republicans' fault, and people want to change. People are tired of what Trump's doing and the deportations and all that. Gaetano says, yes, they could be so much better with the messaging. Usually when prices go up, they don't come down. Besides things like gasoline, we need to strengthen the dollar and stop the federal bloat. Yeah, all those things work hand in hand. Agree, says Bree. But for people that are struggling horribly when they hear the president say that, it can definitely be a turnoff. Agreed, it can be a turnoff. I think, they got to get specific. Here's what I would have said if I was President Trump. Let me tell you, Brett. No, I would have said, we have stabilized from a standpoint of inflation. We inherited a big mess. So inflation is down, which is a ripple effect over time for savings for the American people. Gas prices are down, which also has a ripple effect in savings. We got egg prices down right away. We've gotten things down in certain areas, but there's more to come. Okay? Hold tight. Stand by. There's more to come. We've got more on the way. Trust your president. I am working every single day. This is a top priority, if not the top priority, after we had to get the world sorted with some of these foreign entanglements and threats and these other countries ripping us off. We've been setting the table, and we're very close to dinner time now. Just trust your president. The best is yet to come. I think if he would have said that, acknowledged that not everything is great, I think it would have landed a little better. What do you guys think about that? Gaetano says, at least drug prices have gone way down. That's a great point. I don't interact with a whole lot of drug prices personally, thank God. So I forget about that because it just is not really part of my daily life, but that's not the way it is for a lot of people. So thank you for reminding me of that. Bree says, I really did think New Jersey was going to be a lot closer for some reason. Yeah, I think a lot of people did. And again, there's been some allegations of some shenanigans there that, could be part of it. Bree says, in the oil industry, we definitely aren't drilling the way that was promised. Elaborate on that. Why do you think that is? Is it the access to capital at reasonable rates from a Fed rate standpoint, or is it something else? Elaborate. Help us understand. We'll come back to that. Let's keep going here. Where did I stop? Okay. This is insane. This story out of Kansas. Have you seen this? The Kansas Attorney General has charged Coldwater Mayor. This is a city in Kansas called Coldwater. The mayor, Jose Caballos, he's been charged for voting illegally as a non-citizen. He's the mayor. So how did he get elected without citizenship? Oh, I thought this wasn't happening. I thought illegals weren't voting. Apparently, not only are they voting, they're getting elected in local governments.
The mayor of Coldwater accused of election fraud. The charges come hours after he secured a second term in office. Attorney General Chris Kobach charged Mayor Jose Joe Ceballos with 6 felonies, 3 counts each of voting without being qualified and election perjury. Kobach claims Ceballos is lawfully living in the U.S., but is a citizen of Mexico, making him ineligible to vote. The AG alleges the mayor illegally cast ballots in the August 2024 primary and November 2022 and 2023 general elections.
In large part, our system right now is based on trust. Trust that when the person signed the registration or signs the poll books saying that he's a qualified elector or that he is a United States citizen, that the person is telling the truth.
We reached out to Mayor Ceballos for comment, but have not heard back yet. The Coldwater City Council, though, released a statement on social media saying the mayor called them in for a special meeting over the noon hour to, quote, discuss recent events that have transpired with the Kansas Attorney General's office. While the recent allegations involving the mayor are understandably concerning, we will allow the proper legal process to take its course before making any further comments, unquote. Ceballos is expected to be in court for his first appearance on December 3rd.
All right. So apparently this guy is here legally, but isn't a citizen. So they're on some kind of visa program. Still not allowed to vote. Still not allowed to hold this public office. I mean, this is insane. This is insane. I'm telling you, it's only going to get worse because we're going to find out more stuff. People are becoming more and more emboldened to do these things. But guess what it's going to do to God-fearing, law-abiding American citizens? It's just going to make you less tolerant of any immigrant. It's going to make you jaded. I mean, when I see someone driving horribly on the road, they have their pickup truck loaded down with like 12 ladders on top and a ton of paint buckets and concrete mixer material and stuff like that in the back, and their vehicle's loaded down, dents all over it, the paint's coming off, and they're driving like garbage at about 4:30 in the afternoon. And everyone inside looks like they are from Mexico. It makes me think, how do I even know you have a driver's license? How do I know you're here illegally? How do I know that you speak English and can read traffic signs? Like, this is where my mind goes. Like, get away from them. And just sort of being irritated. Because you hear the stories, especially, when I go by any semi truck now. Automatically, I'm like, is that an illegal immigrant? Is that somebody who can't read traffic? Like, this is where your mind goes. This isn't a good place. I think it's a reasonable place to start asking those questions because we're seeing so many examples of people abusing the system and wreaking havoc that it makes you have a prejudice, not from I don't like you because of your skin color, but I don't like you if you're here illegally and you're breaking the law and you're taking advantage of our system and you're at risk for causing harm to innocent people. So it's just going to get worse. The longer this goes on, we'll see. I mean, the deportation effort has been very effective so far, and Donald Trump says it hasn't gone far enough. People have criticized it from the standpoint of you got to get even tougher so people quit doing these things where they're ramming your minivan and other things like that. There's also been criticism that there's been, some level of antagonism with some of the videos that the DHS has put out, like basically daring people. So there's a little bit of antagonism going on there. Some say provocation. I don't know about that. But there's different schools of thought on this. But what I'm saying is over time, the more we discover that people here illegally are taking advantage of the system, they're voting, they're running for office, it's just going to make law-abiding citizens here distrust immigrants, distrust people who can't speak English even more. And then it just, it's a pressure cooker at that point. Oh, and by the way, here's a person that was elected mayor of St. Paul, Minnesota the other night. She stood up and said, I'm illegal. I'm an illegal. My parents are illegal. She just won election for mayor in St. Paul, Minnesota. What the heck is happening?
Because his mother had died. My father, as the one processing the paperwork, put my grandmother down as his mother. And so I am illegal in this country. My parents are illegal here in this country. Because his mother had died. My father, as the one processing the paperwork, put my grandmother down as his mother. And so I am illegal in this country. My parents are illegal here in this country.
Because of a paperwork error, you're not even a legal citizen. Well, she's now the mayor. So I don't know what the deal is, if that's something in her status that could be corrected, but she just told you she's illegal. Okay. Where are we? Let's go back to, let's get Bree's response on the drilling. I think it has a lot to do with the land and foreign companies purchasing land. You would be shocked at the amount of land in West Texas alone owned by foreign entities. Crazy. David Singh says, we need to open way stations again. And Bree says that is true. 25%, of them are open right now, maybe. Open those back up and you're going to be able to deport a lot of bad illegal immigrant drivers. Gaetano says that's wild. That guy can hold office and he can't even vote. Yeah, he's in trouble. He's not going to be allowed to continue that. So Gaetano says, no, we're at Obama levels of deportation right now. I hate to say it, but Trump's mass deportations haven't really come to fruition. Well, Gaetano, I would challenge you on that because in about, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, additional numbers have come out. And, about a month ago, I was looking at numbers and like, okay, Obama has deported more than Trump has at this point. Of course, there's, crazy, people are freaking out over Trump stuff. But I believe at the updated numbers, I don't know if it was through the end of October or maybe a little bit, maybe it was through the end of September. The numbers jumped quite a bit. And I'm seeing 1 million self-deportations with that, which that number is kind of difficult, to 1.5 million. And then around 500,000 deportations. And so 500,000 by now is definitely past Obama. So, it's hard to know exactly where the most up-to-date numbers are specifically, but I was with you from the standpoint of, I mean, it's going to take forever. Well, they've really advanced, the pace on some of that stuff. All right. You want to go even crazier? Why don't we do it? Nicaraguan refugee in a dress and a wig says he's starving and eating only one meal per day after his SNAP benefits were cut. Okay, let's take a listen to that.
This Oakland resident, moved to tears, had only been eating one meal a day.
I lost my job and I was sick for a couple of months because I expired by me and I cannot work at the time.
They could just call 211 and they'll get connected with a representative that can kind of talk through their situation and help them figure out what support they might need.
Okay. I like my job and I don't know to do it and I cannot do it because I don't eat. Nicaraguan refugee in a dress. This says a wig. I don't know. That could be real hair. I don't know. Is it? Maybe not. Maybe some kind of weird extensions or something. I don't know. But nonetheless, the fact that a freaking Nicaraguan refugee in a dress is complaining that he doesn't have enough to eat. Why in the heck are any of these people being fed by us right now? Oh, that's not compassionate. I'm sorry. If you can't take care of your own household, you do not need to be feeding the neighborhood. Period. It is common sense. I'm sorry. You have a responsibility to your own country, your own family. The compassionate thing to do is not at the expense of your family to help your neighbor. It doesn't work that way. Responsibility number one is to take care of your own household. Love your neighbor, help them if you can, but if you can't ensure your family is safe and taken care of, you have no business doing anything else to help your neighbor. It's common sense. It is why on an airplane, when they're teaching you how to survive, they say put your own mask on first before you help the person next to you, because you cannot help them if you're dead. It's very simple. It's common sense that isn't so common. And we can't be helping every other country's immigrants or rejects or prisoners or any of this stuff when our country is not in a good place right now when it comes to crime, our, homelessness, drug use, hunger. There are plenty of problems. And I'm not saying the government should solve all those, but the government should not be trying to solve illegal immigrants' problems. Shouldn't. It's not smart. If we become so rich and have a surplus and you want to bring in some certain level of immigrants and pay for their stuff, we can have that conversation then. And I'll tell you, I'll agree to have that conversation, because hell will freeze over before this country ever gets back to a place of being out of debt and having a surplus. It ain't ever going to happen. It's just never going to happen. Never. It's just not. We're going to run the debt up quickly or slowly, or keep it at this, at this level if we balance the budget for a period of time. But at some point, this whole thing's going to tip over. I mean, it's called gravity. It comes knocking. You can only defy it for so long. All right, so let's take a look at this. White and black women celebrate the Mamdani win. They say Sharia law starts now, abso-blanking-lutely. So there's some language in here, but this is the stupidity out there.
Absolutely. So Ron Mamdani
something so electric, so satisfying about knowing that my MAGA parents, wherever they are probably having a horrible night tonight. Oh, I literally just got goosebumps thinking about it. Like they are in such a bad mood probably about the fact that Zoran just won and Prop 50 is going to pass. Like, wow. God, I'm sorry. It just makes me feel good that my MAGA parents are probably upset right now.
When the day starts with Dick Cheney being dead, it ends with Mamdani winning. Oh, yes. Oh. I'm so happy. Oh my God, I'm so happy.
Every one of these is a fairly young woman, mostly white. Is she saying the caliphate? This is what she's ready for?
Sharia law starts now.
Sharia law starts now.
Absolutely. Zoran Mamdani. Islamic Caliphate.
Islamic Caliphate, you dumb, you dumb little witch. You have no idea what you are talking about. You will not be allowed in public. You will not be allowed to show anything but your eyeballs. You will get beaten by your husband, and there will be no recourse. You are no longer a person. You are now simply property. Your husband can rape you when he wants. You have no rights left. They will kill gays, throw them off of bridges. I mean, this is what you want? You're so dumb. And this is what has to be absolutely perplexing to people from other countries when they say America, greatest country on earth, and they see people that go that say things like this, and it's how is this possible? How is this possible? Because they've been brainwashed to say, oh no, I mean, Republicans and white people and Christians and, you know, these people are oppressive. We want something different, try something different because I don't like capitalism. And we've just watched it all happen. Now, what we're seeing here is we see the socialism, we see the communism, it's Marxism. But remember, Marxism is the god of the left. Whether everybody on the left knows it or not, that is the dark force that is working against capitalism, against Christianity. It is Marxism, where they don't want you to worship God. They want you to worship government. They can't control you if you are a person who worships God. But then you go, wait a minute. Well, you got these, the Islam situation coming in. I mean, they're worshiping God. Well, I think what we're seeing here is we're seeing this mashup where it is a Trojan horse. Because the Marxists are saying, well, yeah, anything we can do to diminish faith in Jesus Christ, capitalism, merit-based, anything we can do to diminish that, we will do it. And if this, these Islamic extremists are coming in and they agree they want to, take down America, well, let's work hand in hand. The crazy thing is if this Islamic point of view is allowed to permeate through this country, there ain't going to be any trans rights or any gay rights or any of that stuff. And that's why I tell you Mamdani is a Trojan horse, because if he is a devout Muslim, he cannot believe in any of these things that he is advocating for. So at some point, the Trojan horse becomes evident and the whole thing's going to implode. I am not sitting here with a Chicken Little mindset. Okay? There is hope. Do not, be distraught. Do not let your heart be troubled. We know that there's a movement for the heart, mind, and soul of youth in America. We see We see that happening, and so we cannot lose sight of that. We must not become obsessed with what the bad guys are doing. We must promote what's good about being on the side of the good guys. So let's define ourselves by what we're for, not by just what we are against, and not lose heart. Even though this stuff is disgusting, laughing and celebrating and, Islam caliphate, Sharia law, etc. I mean, the fact that this girl is celebrating that her MAGA parents are so upset. I mean, I watched it. I said, my thought is, what happened to this girl? She hates her parents that much. What happened to her? Well, she probably went to a liberal university and, oh my gosh, my parents have been lying to me all these years. They're racist and they're Islamophobic and they're xenophobic. Gaetano says the Trojan horse is the Marxism, the faith of the woke. Gaetano says that white liberal women are the most dangerous creature on earth, like Crocodile Hunter.
Crikey, look at that white liberal woman. You don't want to get too close because she's going to be upset that you walked on her yard. Oh, and the fact that you're white, she's not going to like that. You better hide yourself. You better hide your whiteness, because if she sees it, she's going to come for you and make you feel white guilt. She's eaten up with white guilt, and therefore she can spit it right back at you. Be careful. The elusive white liberal. She's trying to tear down our country by her white guilt and her virtue signaling.
Right? Okay. Let's see. David Sling, JD was right about pausing immigrants until people assimilate. Agree. Again, when you're making cookies, or you're making anything, acting like I do, I guess, there's certain things you can't just throw every single ingredient into one bowl and start mixing it. Okay. You got to mix butter. You got to, soften the butter or whatever you're going to do to it, melt the butter. Then you mix it with just the sugar. You know what I'm saying? Then you add the other things in. You got to get a good mix going. You can't just throw everything in there. You're going to have some nasty chunks. Okay? You're going to have some nasty chunks. So the same thing that's happening here in our country, all of these different ingredients are just thrown together. We are not going to have anything delicious. We're going to have chunky things, half baked, half cold. I mean, it is not going to be a beautiful masterpiece if you don't allow things to cook slowly. Okay, we're trying to microwave this thing too at the same time. You got to allow for proper assimilation, and that's what we have done historically, is allow assimilation to occur. All right, what else we got going on? Okay. Let's talk a little bit about these deportations, because I see it. I mean, I don't know if any of you are friends with any liberals or talk to any liberals. I try to at least maintain some connection to liberals, some I'm related to, some I come in contact with. I don't want to be in some kind of echo chamber or bubble. We all need to be challenged on what we believe and be able to articulate why we believe what we believe. The trade-off on that, though, is if you're friends with them on social media, sometimes you see their absolute garbage takes on stuff. And I know this one lady in my feed from time to time is posting about ICE. Oh, how terrible ICE is. I mean, just, again, that classic angry, jaded white woman, liberal. And she's always posting about how horrible ICE is. They're just doing all these terrible things. They're locking up citizens. Well, That's because a bunch of dummies are out here posting stuff like, here you go. Here's how it's being presented. ICE isn't going after the worst of the worst. This morning, they took a preschool teacher without a warrant. Now ask yourself, why in the heck would ICE care about a preschool teacher that is, not an illegal immigrant? Or he's even saying, this isn't the worst of the worst. This illegal immigrant is teaching kids, which that should be a problem. This is a Congressman, Mike Quigley. Okay, so we'll watch it real quick here at this preschool. Looks like this is it says police. All right. So what has been communicated that let's set the record straight on this particular situation real quick. Okay. This is what happened. Law enforcement, and this is from Homeland Security, there's always an explanation that is totally different than what the left is trying to get you to believe, by the way. And again, they tell you, this is not one of the worst getting locked up. Well, they're obviously going after the worst of the worst. But when people are in the same place as these bad guys, when a raid happens and they're found to be illegal, they don't just say, well, you're free to go. They say, well, you're illegal too. And you are involved with and interacting with and part of the same thing that this other really bad illegal immigrant's doing. They're not just going to let you go. That's pretty reasonable common sense, wouldn't you think? Homeland Security says, Congressman, you're deliberately misrepresenting the facts. ICE law enforcement did not target a daycare, and we're only at this location because the female illegal alien fled inside. Here's the real story. Officers attempted to conduct a targeted traffic stop of this female illegal alien from Colombia. Okay. Just a side note on breaking news. Judge orders Trump administration to fully fund food stamps this month. There you go. All right. So they excuse me, attempted to conduct a targeted traffic stop at this female illegal alien from Colombia. Officers attempted to pull over the vehicle, which was registered to a female illegal alien. With sirens and emergency lights, they tried to pull her over. The male driver refused to pull the vehicle over. Law enforcement pursued the vehicle before the assailant sped into a shopping plaza where he and the female passenger fled the vehicle. Those people, the illegals, they ran into a daycare and attempted to barricade themselves inside the daycare with children inside, recklessly endangering them. The illegal alien female was arrested inside a vestibule. A vestibule. You don't hear that word every day. I'll meet you inside the vestibule. Terrence, meet me at the vestibule and we'll have a spot of tea. Why don't we? Anyway, the illegal alien female arrested inside a vestibule, not in the school. It was the vestibule. It was General Custard inside the vestibule. Okay. Upon arrest, she lied about her identity. The vehicle registered to her in her name, though. And she claimed that she didn't know the man who was driving her own car and had just picked him up from a bus stop. Really? Okay. Again, it's no wonder these agents don't believe a word any of these people say because they get lied to day in, day out. facts, including criminality and information on the male assailant, are forthcoming, and we will update the public with more information as soon as it becomes available. So she was just picking up the guy, at the bus stop. So this is not, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a preschool teacher. This is some crazy broad who's here illegally, who endangered children by fleeing from the cops inside of a preschool. And now she's in big trouble. Okay. But yet this Congressman Mike Quigley says ICE isn't going after the worst of the worst. They took a preschool teacher without a warrant in front of kids in my district. That couldn't be further from the truth. Okay. You want to talk about half truths? I mean, he did get it right that it was an illegal alien, even though he didn't say that. But he says, ICE. This wasn't ICE. This was the cops. Right? It doesn't really matter. It says police on it. They're officers. Okay. The only thing he really had correct is that it was at a preschool. And he didn't even have that right. He just said they took a preschool teacher without a warrant in front of children in my district. Okay. So in front of children, yes. But that's about it. So again, when you see one of your friends or somebody posting this BS online about these ICE raids, etc., let me tell you, no matter how bad it looks, no matter what they say happened, there's always more to the story. I saw a video yesterday where some nut job tried to say that ICE was just out here ramming cars for the heck of it. And no, when you back things up and see what happened before that, this lady was trying to ram them. So there is certainly, information warfare happening out there. But I mean, that couldn't be further than the truth of what really happened versus what they're trying to do. But they are inciting people. They're making people be emotional. It's reckless. It's terribly reckless. And, bad things will happen if they continue down this road. But as you're able, set the record straight, because there's almost always, every time I've seen it, anytime something appears bad because it's, selectively clipped, you see the whole context and it's like, oh, yeah, that guy deserved that. They're talking about that priest, that so-called priest that they hit on the head with that, tear gas or whatever it was. And it's like, oh my gosh, ICE is attacking priests for praying outside of these facilities. Oh, actually, was he a priest? I doubt it, because he was flipping the double bird to ICE agents and yelling and making threats. But in the moment you saw, no, it's just a priest praying. All right. A little bit more on this situation. DHS sources tell Fox News the woman arrested by ICE agents at a daycare in Chicago is a Colombian illegal alien who was caught and released at the border by the Biden administration in 2023, and her kids were smuggled into the U.S. last month after entering illegally near El Paso. The children were then placed in a UAC shelter, which stands for Unaccompanied Alien Child, in the Chicago area. And this is her, Diana Patricia Santillano Gilano, right? So what you got to do when you read a name in, a Mexican name, Hispanic name, whatever, you've got to adopt a rolling R. Diana Patricia Santillano Gilano. Diana Patricia Santillana Galeano. Okay. Right? That's what Rob Finnerty says. Hilarious thing. He's like, why do people, even in media, especially in media, adopt this, Latin accent with the rolling R when they pronounce, some Latin person's name? And we don't do that with anybody else. Adopt whatever accent needs to be adopted for, their name. He uses the example, he's what, Irish, and people are like, oh, a little Robert Finnerty, don't you know? Somebody has a German last name. Robert Lichtenstein. You know, you don't do that. You just say it. You know, mine would be like some English, maybe some Irish in there. Like, oh, the host, you know, they have me on Newsmax. The host of the Ike Wingate show, Ike Wingate, right? Something like that. Anyway, side note, totally side note. Okay. Let's see what you're saying in the chat. If it wasn't inside the building, what were the kids in the pathway to the exit? I believe you're referencing, David Sling, I believe you're referencing the vestibule. I believe that's what they call it, the vestibule, right? It wasn't actually in front of kids, right? The kids were just there, I guess. The whole thing was pretty much a lie. Is what it appears to be. All right. Let's see here. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk. By the way, heart the post and repost. Give us a thumbs up and repost right now. Get in the chat right now. If you're watching, let us know you're watching. Just get in the chat and say hello. Oh, we got Gaetano. You know, if I was pronouncing his name, it'd be like Gaetano, veteran. I don't know. I can barely read Ventroni. Gaetano Ventroni. I mean, every time someone pronounces his name, they need to adopt that accent, right? Hey, look at this. We got these people secretly watching, and now we see them. We have on Rumble, CJ. Hello. Hey, there's Star. Star's watching on Rumble. We didn't even know. Hello there. I see Joey. Hello. Watching on X as well. Wow. Love seeing your names in there. Yeah. Say hello in the chat. We love to see you guys. I understand everybody can't chat the whole time because they're doing stuff, but just drop in and, you know, give us a little hello, little roll call. Little roll call. If you're wondering, our schedule right now is Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 to 4 p.m. Central. We very well could be adding additional time, but at this point, that is what you can count on, 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But hope to add some more soon. Working on it. And, you know, everything goes so slow. And I'm going to leave it at that. Not my preference. Look at this. Mostly Penny is in here. So very busy and so hard to keep up. Come on now. You must let us be privy to some of your quick-witted jokes. All right, back to the show. Jack Posobiec, the guy who knew Charlie Kirk very well, he says, here's the affidavit from the Utah prosecutors confirming Tyler Robinson's parents identified him and worked to turn him into law enforcement. They accompanied him to the sheriff's office for his surrender. So this is the affidavit from the parents. You know, there's been a lot of questioning on, you know, how do we know this really happened? I mean, did you see Erica Kirk last night on the Jesse Waters show? I mean, this woman has unbelievable strength. I can't believe she's willing to talk about some of these things at great expense and pain to her emotionally in some sense, but probably very therapeutic in others. But I'm just telling you, I was not watching that last night with a dry eye. Just when I'm like, okay, I've accepted, I've accepted the. This is not funny, but I'm just laughing at the fact that you know, it's just too hard to get over this horrific tragedy. And just when I think I've got a pretty good grasp on accepting that it happened, I see clips of Charlie Kirk. I see his wife talking, and I'm like, I'm not over it. I'm not over it. I don't think I'll ever be over it. But you would think, I would think, just for my own self, that I could absorb information about it without becoming like super sad and upset. And I know I can't be alone because I'm telling you, I have talked to more strangers about this situation, and so many people are affected by it. But watching her talk about their kids, their family, it was just heartbreaking. But the fact that she's out there doing it, is just so impressive. And that kind of strength does not happen from a human standpoint. That is supernatural strength that comes from the Lord. I'm convinced because, obviously she believes she must continue to tell Charlie's story and to continue to exert strength. And then you have all these accusations against her. All of these accusations. You're not grieving correctly. You're not doing this right. You're not doing that right. Why aren't you doing this? Oh, you're in on it. Oh, you wanted it to happen. You took over his spot way too soon. Blah, 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 blah. Look, man, you don't know the inner workings of what's going on there. How you would do it doesn't mean that's how everybody would do it. And then you have all these people with just these crazy conspiracy theories. You think that helps somebody grieve? Would people that are supposed to be your friends are out there getting clicks for crazy conspiracy? That would be so challenging for a widow to deal with. I think guys would probably be able to deal with it better because they would just get mad and just retaliate. A woman is seen as, too aggressive and crazy if she did that. I would understand if she did it, but she doesn't. She has incredible strength. And she says, forgiveness is not weakness. It's more for me than him. Basically, I am releasing any hold that Satan could put on me by having resentment toward this guy, and let God deal with him, let the state deal with him. But true humility is strength under control. Humility is not weakness. It is someone with incredible strength that does not exert all that strength just because they can. The greatest picture of humility, strength under control, is Jesus Christ going to the cross to be crucified, a guy who had the strength and the power to get out of that. He didn't have to submit to the authorities. He didn't have to do any of that, but because of what his mission was in obedience to the Father, he did it. But he could have gotten out of it easily. Is Jesus Christ weak? No. But he showcased humility, strength under control. And that is something I think we must understand, is just because you can doesn't mean you should. And yes, we know you can do that. Yes, we know you can beat that guy up. Yes, we know you could buy this or buy that or do this or show your power. True power is shown in humility for whatever the situation is. And I would say that's what I see in Erica Kirk, is a true strength under control, a humility about the way she's going about it. She could go on TV or online and eviscerate and complain and incite and go off on the left, go off on trans people, go off on Tyler Robinson, go off on every single person that, has some connection to this, but she hasn't. So anyway, back to that special. It was just, if you have it, it was really well done. You get a few more details surrounding the day of the assassination and how it all went down and everything that happened. And it's still so hard to believe. It's just still so hard to believe that it happened. And I watched that last night, and I came away with, we can't let Charlie Kirk's mission, not so much that it was Charlie Kirk, but what he was fighting for: free speech, freedom, Christianity. We can't grow complacent. We must keep this guy's memory alive because it is a modern day example of how we ought to live as a follower of Christ who's involved in the things that affect our ability to worship freely. And so we have this sort of common day example, not a better example than Jesus Christ, but it's a little more visible from a practical standpoint in today's day and age for what someone who is involved looks like and acts like, someone who's kind but equipped with the information to have these debates to combat the enemy, combat the evil one who has sown lies and deception into the hearts and souls of so many people in this country. And Charlie Kirk modeled not anger, not violence, not hatred, seeing these people as people, but with the key to their true peace, which is knowing Christ. And so we have this modern day example. We don't need to, and he's not he wasn't a pastor. And a lot of people can't relate. Maybe they see their pastor as the example for how to interact, and that's great. But most people are not working in ministry every day and that kind of thing. And so Charlie Kirk may have been more of a applicable point of view for having conversations with people, because we all have to have conversations. We're not all going to get up in front of a crowd and do a rally or speak, or get up in front of a crowd and do a sermon, or maybe, gone to seminary or something like that. But we all have conversations. So anyway, my point is, we don't need to forget this dude. We need to, stiffen our resolve and continue to try to put forward that same attitude, mentality, demeanor, and motivation for the truth. All right. Back to this. I'm sidebarring like crazy today. The affidavit, okay. Wow, I missed that. Okay, here we go. All right, so it starts out with what was written on the fourth cartridge. If you read this, you are gay. LMAO. I was like, oh, they got me. No, that's what this nut job wrote on the shell casings. Here's the affidavit. On the evening of September 11th, as law enforcement continued their investigation, Tyler James Robinson went to the Washington County Sheriff's Office with his parents and a family friend, to turn himself in. Robinson's mother stated the following to police: that on September 11th, the day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick and that he had been at home sick the day before when the shooting took place on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concerns to her husband that the suspected shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. Okay, this is a statement that they swore was the truth to law enforcement. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who is transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event, and accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed it looked like their son and believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son, Tyler Robinson, and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with him, and Robinson implied that he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and Charlie Kirk spreads too much hate. They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who is a retired deputy sheriff. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in. The family friend spoke to police and reported telling Robinson that it would be best if he brought all evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. The family friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that were related to what he did. Robinson replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas. Okay, so just to refresh your memory, or maybe that's the first time you've heard that, but those statements were sworn to by Tyler Robinson's parents. Despite what people want to say about the whole situation. Now, Officer Tatum, Brandon Tatum, who's a former police officer, now he's a content creator. He says the FBI didn't identify the shooter first. His parents did. His mother recognized him from surveillance, confirmed it with his father, and coordinated with a deputy for safe apprehension. Listen to what he had to say about this when he was on the Charlie Kirk show.
Have you ever seen a case where a father turned his own son into law enforcement like this? Because I've been scratching my brain, and that's really not something you see a lot.
Yeah, I've never. Now, it could be possible, depending on if the father was involved in something, all of that stuff. But in this case, that's not the case, right? This is not a lover's triangle or something weird situation where the dad is involved in the crime. This is a mom who identified. You got to think the FBI didn't catch him initially. They didn't know who he was.
Right, so for 33 hours, Tyler Robinson is on the loose.
He's on the loose.
And they have these images that come out.
Up. And they're getting tips online, too. People don't understand that. They got 10,000 tips or something like that, which they followed up on. But he's online. He's out there, and they haven't identified him yet. His mother identifies him. She confirms with his father that it's him. The father convinces him to turn himself in. They communicate with the deputy sheriff, a neighbor, who coordinated him to turn himself in without, obviously, the SWAT team coming to his house and doing a dynamic entry. So I find it to be unreasonable to believe that somehow his dad is want to get him the death penalty. For what reason? When you turn your son in knowing that he committed a crime such as this, which is an assassination, an intentional murder, he premeditated it, and he did it for political reasons. When you say, I'm going to turn my son into the authorities, you are turning him in knowing he can get the death penalty. Mm-hmm. No father would do that unless they are pretty confident that their son has done this. Now, according to the FBI, he actually confessed to his parents that he did it. Now, there's a difference between a confession and pleading not guilty in the court of law. A person can confess to their parents, but you can plead not guilty because you want to not end up getting a death penalty. So in my opinion, I think the fight is not whether he's guilty or not. The fight is to try to not allow him to get the death penalty, which is why they didn't want the cameras in the court, which is why they wanted to dress in plain clothes.
You're making way too much sense.
And by the way,
you're making way too much sense. Brandon Tatum, stop making so much sense.
It's in addition to that, we have that Discord chat that came out where he said, I don't have it in front of me, but it's something to the extent of, hey guys, I don't know if you saw the news, but it was me in Utah.
They had 20 people on that Discord chat, which the FBI is investigating all 20 of them. And the thing is, people don't understand. People don't understand forensics, right? There's a forensic extraction of all the content on Discord from his communication with him, with that chat and every chat he's been on, and all 20 people in every chat that they've been on.
Okay, so you think about that. Every chat this guy's been on, every person he's chatted with, and every person they've chatted with. I mean, that's a lot of conversations to really go through to see if you can find some kind of common thread.
Also, the electronic communication between him and his boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever it's a boy, the transgender person. The communication that people don't have access to because they showed a synopsis, but they have extracted all the content from his phone and the other guy's phone in the relationship. And also, no one, I know that so some people that have never investigated anything, and they say, well, it's kind of confusing the way he's communicating with the transgender person. But unless you have evidence of how he communicates in his other text communication, you cannot make a true judgment on whether or not it's suspicious, him using the word vehicle and different things of that nature.
Well,
yeah, I mean, that is a key point where, why is he spelling out every little thing in this text thread? And a lot of people, and it looks suspicious. Like, who would text all that? People are like, oh, this is like a perfect text thread that, like a Fed did, cops did this to set him up. Well, I grant you that it's odd. To me, the theory of him trying to text all this stuff to give the furry boyfriend cover makes a lot of sense. But to Tatum's point, you actually don't know if this is how this guy talks. A lot of people said, oh, somebody who's 20 years old or however old this kid is, texting like this, full words and not abbreviations. You don't know this kid. I mean, I think I said this at the time. He could have been a real stickler for grammar. You don't know. I mean, it's pretty nerdy. Now, of all the details, I'm not saying everything makes sense right at this moment because they're inside of a prosecution of an active case. They can't release everything from the standpoint of tainting a jury. They have to be careful about it. That's the last thing you want, is them to release too much information and screw up the whole case against this guy. But I grant you, at the moment, everything we know now doesn't make sense, but that doesn't mean what we know now contradicts the truth. A big unknown that I think has the most splaining to do is, was it a 30-06 round or not? And are you sure it came from that angle? Because there's there are some questions as to how that 30-06 round could enter his neck and not blow out through the back of him because of the force. If it was a lesser, caliber or, smaller bullet, then very well, could stay in the body, not shatter through, bone like a 30-06 round, and then sort of roll and tumble inside of his, body cavity there. So yeah, that's a legit question. It doesn't mean this is a cover up. It doesn't mean that people are lying. We just don't know the full picture yet. Now, if we get the full explanation, and yeah, it's a 30-06 round, and somehow because of his bones of steel, that's going to be weird. If we confirm all that and confirm the angle without some kind of explanation, then you can can start to question things. Gaetano says the rifle's definitely a 30-06. Okay, but there are different grades of ammo you could use even in the 30-06, right? Maybe you know what I mean? Maybe the density of the round and the I don't know all the terminology. I've seen it explained, but let's say they use something that's not as maybe doesn't go as fast. And is it possible? Until you know exactly the kind of round, exactly the kind of ammo, which they know because they've got the casings, not just the casings. They have the spent casing, but they have the unspent rounds. And so if that matches what was found inside Charlie's body, okay, what was it? Like nothing makes sense until it makes sense, right? Nothing makes sense until someone explains certain details. Right now, it's just mass speculation. But certainly, if that was in fact the gun, maybe it wasn't the gun. Then it's like, wait a minute, you told us it was. Yes, we did, but then we found, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Like, what is going on? Okay, but we don't know what we don't know yet, and that's why I'm saying you got to hold out for the rest of the information, but it has to be, at the right time. But to Tatum's point, we don't know how this guy talked. We don't know how he texted with people, so you really can't say it's abnormal for sure unless you have the point of reference to what is quote unquote normal for this dude who loves furry dudes.
That, but you're talking forensics, but that would also go into my experience is more OCONUS, right? Because as an intel officer, but it's a lot of the same metadata, the same electronic collection that we'd be using. So they could track his cell phone, and if he had gone to that, and there's this new witness that's come out that said they spotted someone on that roof. I think it was a week prior, and of course they're going to do with that cell phone, track the forensics. Okay, did he go a week prior? Was that him?
They made a statement in the affidavit that they submitted to the court that he did. They found on his phone searches and Google Maps searches of that university.
Yep.
And they can tell if he's searching that, is how much time he spends on the site. And all of those things are part of the investigation. If people would just let them do their job. And if in the court of law with cross-examination, they're not doing their job properly, then let's go after, them and judge them on that.
All right, everybody. Brandon.
All right. So I thought that was good advice, good way to think through, and kind of what Erica Kirk says. She knows people are grappling with this. They're it's still unbelievable. It's not something that's easily accepted. They're grappling. They're searching. They're trying to find some explanation for how this could have happened, and it's just leading to mass speculation. And for a lot of people, it may be coming from a good, decent place. As you're trying to deal with and make sense of, if that can even be said, of such a horrific tragedy. All right, we got this article out now that James Comey's daughter, the one that was relieved from the Southern District of New York field office of the FBI, allegedly she told Epstein that he would walk free if he said Trump was involved with Epstein's crimes. Okay, this is posted in a few places. This one in particular is on the Post Millennials website. The former cellmate of infamous financier Jeffrey Epstein has claimed that Epstein said that New York federal prosecutors had offered him a deal if Epstein agreed to implicate Donald Trump, then serving his first presidential term at that time. This guy and the Metropolitan Correction Center in Manhattan shared a cell with former police officer Nicholas Tartaglione, who at the time, I'm supposed to say it like this, Nicholas Tartaglione, who at that time was awaiting trial. Tartaglione was eventually convicted of quadruple murder while Epstein died in the jail a month after being arrested. In a pardon application, Tartaglione wrote, prosecutors told Epstein that if he said President Trump was involved with Epstein's crimes, he would walk free. Epstein told me that the lead prosecutor, Maureen Comey, said that he didn't have to prove anything as long as President Trump's people couldn't disprove it. According to Maureen Comey, the FBI were her people, not Trump's, according to the filing. Interesting if true, this guy swore this on an affidavit. He also added in the petition that Epstein told him that Trump was not involved in his crimes. Okay. We're believing a guy who was, convicted of quadruple murder. If we're believing this, is it possible? I would say absolutely. It seems very possible. I don't know how credible this guy is. It seems absolutely believable that Comey would say that. All right, let's talk for a minute real quick. I saw this was interesting. Rasmussen on the 2020 national election fraud says, while publicly claiming there was no fraud in 2020, Bill Barr privately and irately ordered those pursuing credible evidence of interstate transportation of massive numbers of counterfeit ballots to stand down. Tony Schaefer, who's a guy that I've interviewed on Newsmax, said this. Yes, and I was the guy in charge of that investigation that verified that curated, fully completed, ready-to-count ballards of ballots were moved in a USPS, United States Postal Service, 53-foot truck a full 30 days before the 2020 presidential election. And Bill Barr called me directly and demanded that I turn over to the FBI, the witness and whistleblower. And when I refused, because he knew the FBI, because we knew the FBI was corrupt, he had me fired from the investigation. How about that? Back in 2020. All right. So I think I need to probably ask him about that. Don't you? Probably should. All right. John Brennan, the DOJ now sending out grand jury subpoenas in Florida regarding the investigation into disgraced former CIA Director John Brennan following the criminal referral from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Here we go. John Brennan. No wonder he was up in that dude's face, pointing at him, pointing his finger in the guy's chest, how he got all upset because he was asking him about the laptop from hell. All right. Is the IRS done? 87,000 IRS agents. Remember when they the Biden administration put those in place to hunt down everyday Americans? Well, it looks like they may be more useful in the deportation process.
Moments ago, IRS agents could soon be going on immigration raids. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem asking the Treasury Department to deputize their agents to help arrest and remove migrants from the United States. So far, no response on this plan from the Treasury. Crossing moments ago, IRS agents could.
All right. So maybe Kristi Noem's asked, hey, these IRS agents aren't doing anything useful. Why don't they come over and help us deport all these illegal immigrants? Why don't we do that? That makes sense, right? So we will keep an eye on that. You remember that tranny that was caught in the women's locker room in that Gold's Gym in California, and she said, I've had enough. Remember that dude?
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
I don't know if he's, necessarily in some kind of triggered rant here, but here's what he said to TMZ about the situation.
Well, first, I told the people that raised me that this is the way that I was when I was 8 years old. And
imagine, why don't you take a look? Imagine you're in a locker room, ladies, at the gym, and this guy comes in pretending to be a woman.
And really, I stuffed it down pretty deep, and I began using hormones this year in February, and I actually relinquished that information to her about, name change, and it says female on my ID and hormones, and I'm registered as a female with the gym.
That's all it takes. My ID says female with the gym. I've been taking hormones. I changed my name to Alexis Black or some other stripper sounding name, and therefore I'm a woman. Ladies, that's all it takes. All you are, ladies, is an ID, a couple of hormone pills, and a gym membership that says that you're a lady. That's all it takes.
So,
and were you at that moment, because she told us about a couple of different encounters, were you fully clothed at that moment?
Well, she has become aggressive with me on 4 different occasions, actually at different locations in Los Angeles at Gold's Gym. But
someone who's telling the truth doesn't act like this.
Fully clothed. I believe I was enrobed in a towel on one occasion, and this last time I was clothed the entire time. Yeah.
Okay.
You believe that? If you're wondering what the heck this is from videos that have gone viral from this lady yelling in the lobby of Gold's Gym after they told her she could no longer be a member because she was complaining that there were dudes with a wiener inside of the ladies' locker room, and she was tired of it. They did nothing about it. The video went viral. She's since been given memberships at other gyms. But this is the dude who looks like a lady. Even though he's a dude, he actually still looks more like a dude than a lady. He has like these big guns, but he's in the locker room looking at women while he's swinging around his manhood. And he's acting like he's the victim. Insane.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
All right, friends, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for being here. If you would, heart this post and repost on X, share and like and repost on all the other platforms as well, especially over on Rumble. That helps us. If you're watching this on the replay, please say something in the comments so we know you are there. If you'd like to support what we're doing to bring you this content, if you want to help us cover our hard costs, you can do so using Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. We have those unique links set up there at IkeReport.com. Thank you so much to all of you guys for being in the comments and participating with the show today. Always love your comments. It keeps me entertained. I hope you continue to do so. Our plan is to be back with you on Tuesday, Lord willing, at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. If news breaks before that, we will break in as we are able. We hope to add some additional shows. Who knows? 3-4 days a week. Working on some things right now, but unfortunately, not everybody wants to move as quickly as I do on certain things. We'll see where it goes. But I'm just telling you, I'm trying. I'm trying to be with you more often. So stay tuned. Hang in there. Check out our locals group at ikenation.locals.com. We'll post updates there. But you can assume that we are going to be with you on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. This weekend, check me out on the Wendy Bell Common Sense Show on Newsmax. I'll be on there at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central on Saturday afternoon. 3 o'clock Eastern, Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. Central Time. Hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day and weekend, and hope to talk to you on Tuesday, my friends. Remember, it's not time to back down. It's time to double down on the truth, because the truth matters. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to The Ike Wingate Show.